Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're doing the second season 1 roundup for the spring of 2017 for today's first video. Later on we'll have an eclectic Sunday morning, or it'll probably be Sunday afternoon, look ahead, looking at things like what's happening in the stratosphere, the Arctic Oscillation, the North Atlantic Oscillation, and several other things as well, whether next week to 10 days, and I'll try and cram a few more bits and bobs in there for you. And that'll be around lunchtime to the early part of the afternoon. But to start us off today, we're looking at the spring. So we did the first update back in December, just after Christmas, and that one was suggesting quite a mild spring, really. But we didn't have all that many models to go at. This time we got 11. Virtually the full suite of models that we use for this second update. So many more models to be playing with, and we'll see what those models are suggesting in a moment. But very on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. If you have a browse widgets and click through links, you'll be having a space for website. And thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads to which own app content. You can give those a watch. You will be having a space website. Big thank you to everybody for doing that. You can find the links to most of these long range models on the links page. So if you'd like to do that, you certainly can do. They're not all there, but most of them are on the links page, so you can see these long range models for yourself. It's going to be quite a long video, so you can't watch it all in one go. Don't worry, this video will be placed on the spring updates and forecast page later on today. There'll be a written summary to go with it as well, so you can come back and watch the video whenever you would like to do that on the spring updates and forecast page. That'll be placed this evening, usually around 6 o'clock, something like that. Right, let's get on with it. We're going to start off with the Rush models. Just to say that the first 3 models that we're using don't cover the full spring period. So the first 3 are just going from February to April, and all the other ones will cover the full spring, March to May period. So we're starting off with the Rush model. This is the probability forecast from the Rush model for February through to April. And it's coming out milder than average. So it's suggesting a milder than average late winter and early spring. In terms of precipitation for February to April, not a lot to be playing with there, but it is coming out more on the slightly wetter side, I think, than on the drier side. So the probability is average to maybe a little bit wetter than average, and the temperature probability is quite strongly in favour of a milder than average February, March and April period. Next model is the JMA, Japanese Meteorological Agency. Now I would normally isolate this one out and do a video with the JMA 3 monthly forecast on its own, because there's so much information that you can get through this broken down into monthly periods, but I can't cram it all in to this video. Not been able to do that this month, so sorry about that. It's just been such a busy month that I just haven't had time to do that JMA 3 monthly update covering February through to April. But anyway, this is the 3 monthly 500 millibar high denominator. As I say, we can't break this down into monthly periods, but this is the 3 monthly period from February through to April. If you come over here, we've still got above average heights across central parts of Europe, and also extending a little bit in towards the south of the country. I think it leaves us with the jet stream coming more or less through the British Isles, rather like that, through February into April. You'd expect that to be quite a mild signal. The temperature anomaly is coming out above average. Not a very warm spring or early spring, February to April, but even so, temperature anomalies there are above average. Precipitation is perhaps a little bit surprising, because we have got above average heights to our south and east, but actually the precipitation anomaly for February to April is above average, so it's seeing quite a wet end to winter and early spring. That could be something like, because remember this is a 3 monthly anomaly, so it could be something like a wet February, and then maybe drier perhaps for March and April. Very difficult to say. You would need to break that down into monthly periods, which I've not been able to do for you this month. So that's what it's going for, the 3 monthly anomaly anyway. Slight milder than average, also wetter than average. The mean wind flow, these are always a little bit difficult to make out, but the mean wind flow over the next 3 months is generally sort of southerly, southeasterly. So that's why we are seeing the temperature only being a bit mild on average, but also it's quite a wet signal there for February through to April. This also is February to April. This is APEC. This is a collaboration model. I think it's primarily with the Koreans, the South Koreans, but I think also the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia are associated with this, probably JMA as well. So this is 500 millibar height anomalies for February through to April, and we find that it's placing quite a big ridge here across central parts of Europe. Got a trough of low pressure to the south of Greenland. Excuse me, and for us we've got this ridge extending through the country. So you would expect that to be quite a settled spring. I don't have a job to sort of decipher these APEC models, but you'd expect that to be quite a settled spring. Certainly a very mild spring being signalled here. Temperatures, well, I should say February to April, not the full spring period, have to remember that. So for February to April, the temperature anomaly is coming out above average. So it's seeing quite a mild end to winter and start to the spring. And then the precipitation anomaly, which is what you'd expect, really is a little bit on the drier side, if anything slightly drier than average spring being predicted there, or February through to April. So that's the three models that don't cover the full spring period. Now we go on to the models that cover the full spring period, starting off with the Brazilian model. This again, 500 millibar heights from the Brazilian model. It's suggesting, I have to change the colour actually, it's suggesting that we've got a big area of above average heights over the country. With these charts, blue is extrapolating to high pressure, and sort of red and pink, yellow, orange, the brighter colours, extrapolates to low pressure. On any other height only, that's the other way round. So for the height only from the Brazilian model is going for high pressure to be dominating this spring, and that means the temperature anomaly is coming out milder than average, seeing a milder than average spring there. Precipitation, no real signal. If anything, you would expect that to be quite a dry spring. So very pleasant spring, actually, that would be. A lot of dry weather and pretty warm as well. From Brazil, we're going to go up to Canada, and we'll have a look at CANSIPS. So this is the temperature anomaly from CANSIPS for the spring, and we see it's coming out milder than average. Most parts of Europe also coming out very significantly milder than average. The precipitation anomaly for this spring is coming out average to, again, maybe hinting at being slightly drier than average. So those two models are in fair agreement, actually, in terms of temperature and precipitation this spring. Now, you would look at this and think this is the 500 millibar height anomaly from Hugues van der Doel. As I told you, I think it's when I did the last season roundup for the winter back in November. Hugues van der Doel has retired. He retired on New Year's Eve. So now, these anomalies, which are produced under the envelope of NOAA, they are produced as part of NOAA in the United States. These anomaly maps and charts have been carried on, although Hugues van der Doel has retired, and they've been carried on. I've got to try and get the name correct. It's Patal Peng now who is running the anomaly maps that we use. So farewell to van der Doel and hello to Patal Peng. And we'll be using Patal's anomalies over these coming months and years. So this is a 500 millibar height anomaly analogue that Patal has created for the spring. March through to May. These are based on sea surface temperature anomalies. So what Patel has done, saying what Hugo van der Doel used to do, in December they looked at, or rather probably in November, they looked at the sea surface temperature anomalies across the whole of the world. Then they compared back to previous years with a similar sea surface temperature anomaly and created an analogue-based weather forecast going forward. So this is how the 500 millibar height anomalies are coming out based on those analogues. We see that we've got a trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, but quite a lot of ridging up to the north and over to the northeast of the country. So the jet stream doing something a little bit like that, and you would expect a fair amount of mild and pretty pleasant weather, I think, coming through with that one. So the temperature anomaly is coming out above average with Patel Peng's anomaly charts. Warmer than average spring is being predicted there. Precipitation is also coming out a little bit on the drier side. There we are, got those yellow colours, particularly to the north of the country. So average to below average rainfall and above average temperatures appears to be the trend that we're working with here for this second update. Let's go on and have a look at the NASA model. Now, I can't show you the 500 millibar height anomaly from NASA this month, unfortunately, but I can show you the temperature, precipitation anomalies. Temperature anomalies are coming out warmer than average through the spring. There we go, in those yellow colours again. So really strong signal here that we've got for above average temperatures this spring. Precipitation, I have to check this, precipitation is average to maybe leaning a little bit on the wetter than average side, slightly above average rainfall, especially out to the west, but really it's a weak signal. Most places are coming out with near normal precipitation, but again, very, very strong signal working through here for above average temperatures. Let's have a look at CFS V2 next. This is a 700 millibar height anomaly for the spring from CFS V2. As you often find with these charts, not a huge amount to work with. Got a little bit of above average heights there to the north, and quite a strong ridge over Newfoundland, quite unusually. Otherwise, nothing else really to be working with there in terms of the 700 millibar height anomaly. What about the temperatures? Well, they're coming out near normal. So this is probably the coolest anomaly that we've seen, actually, in terms of temperatures so far. Nothing particularly cold being signaled, but average temperatures, as opposed to all the other models, which so far have been suggesting a warmer than average spring is highly likely. So, temperature anomalies with CFS V2 coming out average. What about precipitation? Again, nothing much really to work with there. Coming out average for precipitation as well. It is a little bit drier down across northern parts of Spain and southern France, so there might be some sort of ridge down there perhaps, but otherwise, as I say, not a great deal to work with the CFS V2. It may be that it's just an average signal for this spring, so average pressure, average temperature, average precipitation, nothing very exciting going to happen at all, or it could be, excuse me, again, it could be that the model just doesn't see the pattern yet, hasn't got the pattern predicted. So maybe we'll have a stronger signal as we go through to the third update next month. Jamstec is next, and this one is flipped on last month. Last month, I think Jamstec was the only model that was going for a colder than average spring. And I said, but what Jamstec tends to do is on its 3 monthly anomaly, so when you're 3 months away from the season you look at, it tends to be quite cold, and then it'll go warmer through the subsequent updates, and it's done it again this time. So now it's going for above average temperatures there for the spring. Most parts of Europe and most parts of North America as well coming out with above average temperatures through this spring. Precipitation anomalies are drier than average. So this is back to the idea, that is quite a strong idea that's running through these models, quite a strong theme drier than average and warmer than average for the spring of 2017. Let's go through to the Beijing Climate Centre next. This is a 500 millibar height anomaly for the spring, and it's a new version of the Beijing Climate Centre, so it's a little bit harder. The colours are more intense, a little bit harder to make out where we are. We're just there, and we're being placed under a ridge with low pressure up to the north. The jet stream probably going to the north as well. So again, this would imply quite a warm and quite a dry sort of signal for the spring. So temperature anomalies, here we go again, coming out milder than average, above average temperatures, and many parts of Europe coming out with above average temperatures as well. Precipitation, not quite as straightforward as I was hoping. For England and Wales, it's going drier than average, but for Scotland it is going a bit wetter. So it implies the jet stream is close, although there's a ridge down here. It implies we've got quite a lot of low pressure up to the north. The jet stream is close to Scotland, producing some wetter conditions there. Overall, though, we continue with a strong signal for a milder and warmer than average spring. And then finally, our very own UK Met Office GLOSY 5 model. This means sea level pressure. It's placing high pressure through the UK and extending it into many parts of Europe as well. So the temperature anomaly is coming out average to milder than average. Very, very strong theme for milder than average temperatures this spring. Precipitation anomalies, again, a little bit at odds with the pressure distribution, perhaps, because a little bit wetter than I was expecting. The rainfall is particularly around coast. It looks like for much of the UK itself, we're coming out dry on average. I'm not quite sure about that. I think with a pressure anomaly like this through the spring, you would expect, actually we're looking at February, March and April there. So that's gone a little bit wrong, hasn't it? So actually let's just change that over. So now this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly. Just go show you that I'm doing this live, and you're seeing the errors as I do them. So this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly, and actually now this makes a little bit more sense, because that idea of above average pressure that we had through February, March, April. In March, April, May, the anomaly is still a bit above average with the mean sea level pressure, but it is declining a little bit. So it does imply that we are getting more of an Atlantic influence there, gradually breaking the ridge down perhaps through the spring, as opposed to what we see through the earlier part of the spring. So that does make a little bit more sense. Precipitation for March, April, May was coming out not as dry as I was expecting. The temperature anomaly, remember, is above average. That's okay. But it's the precipitation that I was a little bit thrown by, and the reason for I got the wrong chart up. So now, based on the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the spring, it does make a little bit more sense, but it's not quite as dry as I thought. Overall, probably leaning more towards the drier side, but certainly a bit more of an Atlantic influence there for March, April, May, compared to what we see for February, March and April, if you see what I mean. If we was to go on and have a look at the third tri-monthly period, which would be April, May and June, I suspect that would be a little bit more unsettled. Again, I'm not going to do that for you, though, because I think I've gone on long enough. Anyway, the upshot of the second update is that we have a very strong signal here for a milder than average spring. I think we also have a pretty strong signal for a drier than average spring as well. So mild and dry is the theme that's running through this second update. We'll see whether that continues for the third and final update, which is going to be released next month, the end of next month, and we'll also have some more analogues coming up next month as well. We'll put it all together, and at the end of February, the last Sunday of February, we will be releasing the GavService.com Spring 2017 forecast. Right, hope you found the video interesting and informative. It'll be placed on the spring updates and forecast page later on with a written post. And later on this afternoon, that'll be this evening, later on this afternoon, round early afternoon, I'll have that eclectic Sunday roundup for you. So come back for that this afternoon. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.